How's it going, everybody? It is I, your sadistic spirit guide yokai, Poppy Wolf, and we haven't done a scary story on the channel in quite a while. So, I thought it was only appropriate with me doing more content on my channel that I would do it with stuff I like. And one thing I do like is reading ghost stories. They're timeless. They don't ever go out of style. So, with all that being said, we're getting this story from r/ghost stories, and it is posted by Excellent Reach 6641. Shout out to them. And it's titled The Horror of Babysitting. So, let's begin, shall we? I would never go back to babysitting again. This incident happened to me when I was in university. I was supposed to babysit my niece that day because her parents planned for a business dinner with their work colleagues. They told me they would be back late and one of them would send me back home the next day. I agreed to babysit my niece without any doubts that day. When I arrived at their house, I was given a list of things to do for the day with my niece. My niece was about 12 at the time, so I did not have any issue with helping her out with some household chores that day. We started off by drying their clothes in the garden, and she started narrating her school stories to me. We were having so much fun together that we decided to have a break and make some Oreo milkshakes that she had learned from YouTube that day. As we were making the milkshakes, I noticed how my niece talked a lot about a girl named Sarah O'Neill from her class. Based on my niece's narration about Sarah, I thought she was a lovely girl. Then, I suddenly stopped and looked at her in shock when she said Sarah was with her now and would only come out at night. At first, I thought my niece was joking and quickly brushed off my thoughts about Sarah. We continued making the milkshakes and my niece continued with her stories. Curiosity got me asking her about Sarah, and I noticed my niece's facial reaction changed suddenly. What happened there? Are you okay? I asked my niece as I looked at her. She just nodded at her head in silence and continued to drink her milkshake quietly. She turned up from her drink and said, "She doesn't like you." My heart stopped a bit hearing my niece utter such words to me, as if Sarah was there with my niece in the kitchen. I tried to calm myself down and asked her once more about Sarah. This Sarah that you were talking about, how does she look like? I gathered my courage to ask my niece one last time. She's pretty, blonde hair, and about my height, my niece casually described her as she continued drinking her milkshake. So I took a deep breath and smiled at her. I thought my niece was pulling my legs when she told me that Sarah lives with her and plays with her during the night. We managed to finish our milkshakes and quickly continued with our given house chores. We did some cleaning, putting the clothes for the wash, and lastly, some light dusting. My niece and I were very exhausted after completing the house chores, so we decided to watch a movie just before we head to bed. I told my niece to choose the movie as I wanted to make some hot drinks for her and myself. I came back with the hot drinks in my hand and realized she had already chosen the movie from Netflix and was waiting for me. Sarah likes this movie. She told me to choose this movie, but she also said if you don't like it, you can change. My niece said as she sat comfortably on the couch. Again, I could feel a knot in my stomach, and my heart was beating fast upon hearing my niece utter Sarah's name so casually. Where is Sarah? Can I see her? I played along with my niece. I told you, she will only come out at night. Now she is sleeping. My niece did not even flinch a little. Now is night, sweetheart, so where is Sarah? I pushed my luck again with my niece. My niece smiled at me suddenly and said, "She is right behind you." I quickly turned around and saw nothing behind me. My heart was thumping hard on my chest as I looked back at my niece. "There is no one there, honey," I managed to speak up. "She says she doesn't like you and she wants you to go home now," my niece uttered as she looked behind me. "Okay, time for bed now," I said as I ushered her upstairs to her room. My niece shares her room with her parents in the main room, so they have a huge bed that would be shared by her parents and her 3 sisters who have gone for their school camp day. I put my niece to bed that night, and my niece suddenly asked me if she would play hide and seek before bed. "No, it is late and you should go to bed now." My voice was stern as I turned her down. That is when my niece looked at me with her piercing eyes that scared me. I backed up a little as I noticed how stiff she was looking at me, without any words uttered or any body movement. "I told you to go home. Go home now," my niece growled in another voice at me. Her voice was much deeper and scarier when she yelled at me to go home. I quickly got down from the bed and rushed to my handbag for my phone. My niece was still sitting on her bed, but she was chanting something under her breath in a gibberish language. Her body swayed back and forth as she mumbled those words under her breath. I reached my phone fast and called her parents. I narrated the whole story to them and told them to come back as soon as possible. I was worried if this problem did not be solved immediately, it might get out of hand. Then I heard laughing and giggling all of a sudden in the room, which made me turn around in nervousness. My niece was talking to someone, laughing and giggling as if there was someone with her on the bed. I watched her laugh and talk alone in horror as I waited for her parents to arrive that night. Her parents came back at that night and asked me what happened again, and I told them everything. I told them about Sarah O'Neill and that she would only come out at night and play with their daughter. Without any hesitation, her parents immediately called for a priest from a nearby church. I wondered how they were rooted to the ground with fear when I uttered Sarah's name. Sarah O'Neill recently died in a car crash 2 weeks ago back, my sister-in-law explained as her voice broke.